Okay, good morning to everybody. We start the second day of our work with a ritual delay and we start with Daniel Bausch, Certificate Advanced Studies, no? Performing Arts in Conflict Zone, Contemporary Cultural Diplomacy. Okay, please. Good morning.
Grazie mille. Buongiorno a tutti. Hello. It's a big pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot for invitation. I was a little bit sad that we are not a distillery, but Astragali Theater is also very beautiful. Before to start, I would like to present Anina, because otherwise Roberta will get angry with me. No. Okay. So Anina Jędrzejko is my colleague in the Swiss ITI. She's vice president of Swiss ITI. She's a German and Swiss actress and director, and she studied acting in Berlin, Universität der Künste, and worked in different German theaters. Yeah, it's not so many, Frankfurt and. But then she decided after a while in the career to finish with theater, and she learned Turkish, and she became a translator for different human rights delegations. After a while she came back to the theater, and then since I think now 25 years she's working mainly as director in Middle East regions, and she became an expert to do theater in conflict zones, crisis and conflict zones. We met through ITI, and she founded also the Freie Volksbühne Basel, which you have seen this show yesterday, the short video. So, hello. Thank you that you are here. Because I'm very happy that Anina is here, because they're talking about the CAS, about the project. She will talk mainly because she was with our students in Mahmur. And I was once before to visit the site with Anina, but it was just the two of us. And then she went with our students to Mahmur to do the project. But as little introduction, because of the title, I was invited in end of June this year to the University of Andorra. There was a round table about cultural diplomacy, which is your theme. And I learned, and I found this very interesting, that there exists a new form of cultural diplomacy, which is called contemporary cultural diplomacy. And this form is based on listening. And that I found really beautiful. It's not from top to down, we are going somewhere and we impose something, but we go and we listen. And I found this very nice as a bridge to what we actually wanted to do with our CAS. So just CAS is a Certificate of Advanced Studies. So that's just the shortening of this title. And yeah, we went there because we wanted to go and to listen in the regions and to learn together, and not with this idea that we will go and we will impose our knowledge to other people. When I was in Mahmur, I was extremely touched by the way of diplomacy and this high level of listening and of respect which I saw there through the people. And I think they created a society which is nearly like a utopia in this region, and which is also something very rare, and which is also something dangerous for some people there. That's also why Turkish government is suppressing them and doing lots of restrictions on the Kurdish government, and why they are also living under very difficult circumstances. Yeah, I'm telling you this because I think that practical cultural diplomacy, thought as exchange, is something very, very important. And with theater, we have a very strong tool, and the tool is also dialogue. And I think through dialogue, we are able also to prevent crisis. But that is maybe a big wish, but that's something which I hope. So I think I talked enough for the moment. I would like to give the word now to Anina, As I said before, we created together like a very spontaneous idea through Swiss ITI. Let's do something together. Let's teach students how to do theater in these regions. It was just a spontaneous idea. And then we worked for some years to prepare it. As I said before, we went together to the region. Then, as you know, there was COVID and we couldn't go, but then finally we did it. And the December last year, we had the first module, which we did online. Then we went also to the site. So, Anina, please, you can start to talk.
I want to say also thank you very much that I am here. Yes, it was spontaneous in the case how we get the idea to prepare a cast. Do you know what a cast is? Maybe, yeah?
I said before, it's like advanced, it's a Swiss form of advanced studies program for people who have already, like Levan, now we are totally in this university world of titles. You have your bachelor or your master degree, and then you can do advanced studies. And this is a certificate of advanced studies, which has like 10 credit points. 10 credit points, and it's a title which you can put in the wall. But yeah, it's like 280 hours of studying in a certain field. And yes.
Good. And the idea for this education project was since the war in Syria or since the disastrous politics which are dealing with refugees, are a lot of artists who want to work with refugees in Switzerland, in Germany, in Italy, in the conflict zones, local and international. So, and I worked since a long time in Turkey and in Iraq, Abkhazia, and so on. And I saw, and in Greece, and I think it's very nice and it's very good to want to work, let's say, with people who are not in the same, with people who are living in conflict moments or situations. It's good, but a lot of times I saw a big helpless situation, and the people didn't reflect, the people which are coming usually from the middle of Europe, they didn't reflect their own behavior, their own position, and the result for a lot of works which I saw was big gaps between the people which they were working and themselves. So up and down conflict. The creation of this CAS, of this CAS, was a reflection of all this, of what I saw, and even of a project which we did in Switzerland for 10 years, where we worked in communities where the diversity is normal and rich, and the problems in school are big. So, and from all this responsibility, we made the CAS with the aims of the possibility to practice empathy, and how can contradiction be endured, how you can use contradiction in a good way, how can the different aesthetic viewpoints or the different aesthetic forms combine with each other or stimulate each other. Change, is it the possibilities of change tools to measure success and open up new possibilities instead to previous aesthetic guidelines? Because in the intercultural work, it's often a very big conflict, these different aesthetic guidelines. questions like relation in intercultural work are often characteristic by status and legal inequality, a wealth gap and projections. We worked to realize this. Instead of labeling it in taboo, we tried to finding ways to reduce the power gap and to tolerate the difference without actively using them. That was very important for the whole project. We dealt with the different kinds of personal discrimination, the intersectionality, age, ability, gender, social class, race and wealth, and we become aware to the causes of them. The confrontation with all this in theoretical, practical and theatrical was during the whole case a very important point. So the view from the north to the south, the view from the south to the north, and so on. We started, as Daniel said, in Switzerland with a week where we worked on the, how to say it, to research a resource orientation from trauma pedagogic. Because a lot of people think, oh, you was in war, so you are traumatized. But a trauma is another thing, and we worked a week on the subject, to understand what the trauma is, and that was the main point, how you can empower the people when they get in a post-traumatic situation, because theater can open up post-traumatic situations, and how we can handle with this, and how we can empower the people which we are working together. Even the first week was, of course, to speak about Mahmoud, to speak about our about the difference, our footprints also in the world from the middle of Europe, and anti-colonial discussion. So, in short, to say, to touch the self-critical and the power-oriented question in our work. Then I got to Mahmur in advance, and I worked there. First I have to say, Mahmur is a self-organized camp with refugees from Turkey, Kurdish. They are all Kurdish. They had to leave Turkey in the 90s, in the early 90s, 93, when the Turkish government destroyed more than 5,000 villages. And they said all the villagers are helping the Kurdish movement, the PKK, and 35,000 people came to North Iraq, and then this camp had different steps, and 7 times they have to change their place. At least Saddam Hussein gave them a place on the border between Iraq and North Iraq. Now it's in Iraq, but 2 years ago it was still North Iraq. And in a place where were only scorpions, no water, nothing, and the people, the Kurdish people, they created the camp by themselves with a very small help from the UN. The first what they were building up was the school system. That was very important. And to be honest, I worked a lot in Iraq and in Turkey, and I never saw so a strong school system like in Mahmur in the camp. Now there are 14,000 people are still living in the camp. It means since 27 years they are living in camps, since 21 years in Mahmur, and they have they are totally isolated now since 2 years in case of the politic of Barzani and Turkey, but that's now too much. But they have building houses, each family with a little garden, water, electricity, and so on. And the school system is until to go to university. They are able to go to Erbil, to university. They were able since 1 year before. And they created also different, of course, artist groups. So there is a theater group since more than 12 years. And there are music group, a little cinema group, and so on. And I have a strong relationship with people in the camp since years. And so this was the cooperation with this theater group. And then I went there. We worked together of this trauma resource empowerment, 3 days with the people there, with the theater group, and also with some teachers. And then the group came and we started. We started first to have 4 days together, the artists from Mahmur and the artists from Switzerland and Germany. We worked 4 days together. We didn't have the same language. That was also an aim, how you can deal with not a common language. Together we had 1 translator, and some of us could speak Kurdish a bit or Turkish. And after 4 days, we started to work with youth. No, we want to work with youth, but kids came. I have to say it was a pilot. Never happened again before in the camp an exchange like this. So it was totally new for them, and for us, of course, also the whole group. Not me, but all the others were first time in a region like this. It's also an aim to, we lived in a family. We lived really 3 weeks in a family. And then we worked, 1 of the people or 2 of the artists from the camp and 1 of us, together with a group for between 12 and sometimes 20, sometimes 25 suddenly kids for 10 days. So there was school time. For the teacher, it was also totally new. Oh, the kids are leaving now, but they said it's okay. And I want to show you now, because a film about this work with the artists and with the kids. It was really a pilot. Maybe after the film I want to tell some things, or maybe I want to stop it one. The film is not finished. There are no words on the film. We will make an overvoice. So you have to have a bit patience. It's 14 minutes, and yeah, maybe from the background you have to come a bit more closer, because then you see more things. Yeah, and then for the camp in Mahmur, I think there is a lot to tell. Really, sometimes they are still attacked from the Turkish government by drones, but you can ask questions after it. Okay. That's the camp.
I was astonished to see that's all green around, because when I was there it was
That's February.
That's February and it's green around. It's totally... These are the 4 days of training, huh?
Yes. No, these are the 4 days of training.
Sorry.
She's the translator. We can good communicate even when we don't have the same language. We did every day after, of course, after our work with the adults, with the artists together, we did a reflection. And we did also, when we worked with the kids, every evening a reflection to speak, to decide together what are the next steps.
Ihr seid diejenigen, die mit den Jugendlichen reden. Wir können nur körperlich mit euch arbeiten, weil die meisten von uns verstehen die Sprache nicht.
And in advance we had the idea to make Snow White. It was totally criticized by the artists from the camp because they said the roles are so patriarchal, we don't want to make this. After waiting 3 hours, nobody came, and we thought maybe 20 or 40 came. 200 kids came. So we showed them a bit what kind of work we will do, and then the kids could decide who want to work with us. And we collected 120 or 140 kids, so we made 7 groups, and after each day we discussed how it's going. We started all together in the morning, every day. And as I said, the aim was first to make Snow White, and then we said no. The kids never worked on theater, and we decided to see where we can go with the kids, where we can go in this together work with the artists from Mahmur. And we found out it was very important really to make the exercises of theater very precise, and in this mix of adults, kids, youth, and bicontinental teachers. And sometimes it was very also conflict discussions because, yeah, we. And during the work, it was also aim to give the local trainers as much benefit as possible with all the exercises. And there gave us a new view really of social life, of behavior, of relationships. to figure out if we can make a show in front of the camp. We did one between the 7 groups of us, even to come together and to don't settle up a concurrent situation between the groups. It's before the show. And the show begins. So the impact of this work was, for the camp, it was huge. The camp, as I said, is isolated, like since a long time, and every kid which were working was with us, they take the energy into the family. And we don't have, because our camera was falling down, but for the show there were 500 people maybe around, adults, grandmothers, grandfathers, kids, and we were very impressed of this impact. We didn't suspect this in this way. But as I said, it was a pilot, and in the reflection, when we did, of course, together a reflection, we said, next time we have to do this project a longer time in the exchange for the artists, and because it was too short, these 4 days, and to make an exchange with the artist, maybe 10 days, when we have more time, even longer, maybe 2 weeks, but 10 days would be nice, and then to work together with kids or with youth, but not so a short time. This project with the artists from Europe and from Kurdistan, we will go on. We will do a play together in October, when the borders will be open, and then to go with this pray a bit around in North Iraq and in the Kurdish areas, not in Turkey but in the others. Yeah, so that's it. And with the cast we will go on, of course, in the region of the Middle East, and the big Middle East, let's say, and maybe the Caucasus. And the people which, from our part, from the European art, now, because in Switzerland or in Germany, there are also a lot of crisis, conflict zones, and they are working now in their own theater projects, but also now sometimes out of camps and in conflict zones, in the local conflict zones. So that's it.
Thanks, Anina. No, tu puoi dire. No, dico una cosa. Thanks, and I think you all know that as it is important to go away into other regions of the world, it is also very important to work in your own field, in your own region, in your own community. And there was one of your events which you organized about theater in conflict zones. There was this couple from Colombia. I don't remember the names. Yeah.
And Bernardo.
Yes. And Bernardo, he was telling that the biggest crisis region where he ever worked in his life was Switzerland. Because when he worked with kids there, he worked with kids that were like dead. They were like eternally like zero emotion and reactions, and he said it was the most difficult work in his life was working in Switzerland. And that was like a shock for me. And I think, as I said before, we have to work also where we live and create life in young people and in kids where we live. And we will do this in Switzerland, but we hope that we can do it also in Italy, maybe.
They do.
Yeah, together. I mean, you do anyway, but together. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nina and Daniel. Now we can have a break, the most important moment of the morning. Then Ivanka, the intervention, and then question and answer, like usual. Okay? Please.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
remember the accent of your surname always? How is the pronunciation of your surname?
Ivanka Apostolova.
Apostolova. Yeah. Okay, Ivanka Apostolova. We are very happy to continue this first session of the second day. The title of the intervention is Creating Video Theater Projects, Intro to our Digital Theater Hub project. Okay, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very grateful to be part of this program. Today I'm going to talk about what kind of digital theater projects we create, who are short-lasting and who, particularly the last one, Destination Skopje-Gabrovo, who is sort of a hybrid format, and it became very successful inside the community of independent film festival on the international level. On the first slide, we have the promotional posters of the first episode, and on the second episode, the first episode is introvertal episode, and the second is extrovert episode. I forgot to tell that in Macedonia we don't have social theater, so I found a good opportunity to start with certain activities for promoting the social theater. So we gave an initiative to translate 2 contemporary plays by Fabio and Massimo from your partner theater. And it will be a good test to see the reaction and the reflection inside our theater community. So, this is the list. I know the letters are very small. We are using Film Freeway film portal for application. It is one of the most successful, and they offer a very simple way of creating and updating your portfolio and applying, including electronic payment. If you become a golden member, you receive a very useful discount, and you can apply as much more on the film festivals. In compare with theater and performing art festivals, in this film section you are paying cotizations who are around 5 euros or 8 euros or 10 euros or sometimes 35 euros, etc. On this platform you can find all the A-class films, all the B-class films on an international level, all the C-class films, and all the festivals who are inside indie or independent film scene. We were officially selected, we were finalists, nominee in 20 international film festivals, and we received 8 international awards on International Short Film Festival Tokyo, Singapore, Tri-State New York Film Festival, Roma International Short Film Festival, many. And it was a surprise for me as a producer who is taking the responsibility to apply these projects. And before applications, I wrote to several festivals to explain the situation, that we are coming from theater and performing arts, that we are creating video theater projects, video drama readings, video drama pitchings. So, are we eligible to apply on film festivals? Why? Because most of the international and regional theater and performing arts festivals are still in dilemma to accept or not to accept these hybrid or digital theatrical formats. And I received from 3 festivals a reply that yes, particularly if the festival has a section for experimental films and art house film, they are open for any kind of experiments coming from other fields like visual arts or theater and performing arts. This is the front page of Film Freeway, who are all in the same time partners with the biggest film platforms like HBO, Netflix, etc., who are I've heard from this community, I find out that they accept even experiments coming from theater and performing arts. Sometimes it happens Netflix to buy even that kind of experimental digital format, which is motivating, stimulative. The title of the first episode is Railway Station Life is Wonderful, directed by Begovska, and the second episode, extrovert episode, Railway Station, The Star of Bethlehem, is directed by me. Otherwise, I create the matrix, how to produce and how to approach. I create the methodology, how to approach in creating digital theater projects. And the previous first projects were directed by Tea Begovska, young, very talented theater directress. She's coming from alternative performance area. And I will explain a little bit about our methodology. We usually receive support from the city of Skopje, not the Ministry of Culture, and it's very symbolical. It is interesting that Film Freeway, they ask you how much money you paid, and it cost you to create your indie project. I think that's a little bit tricky questions, because automatically the platform categorizes you in what kind of festivals you can apply. You are eligible or sub-eligible or combinations. Ne? So, we start, first I choose the text. In this situation, we choose 2 episodes from Mosko-Petushkin by Yerofeev in collaboration with Anna Bateva. She's directress and a writer from, but she is from Macedonia, but she's working and living in Gabrovo in Bulgaria. And they have their theater, Spam Studio. So in collaboration with her, we decided to stage 2 episodes from Mosko-Petushkin. And of course, she made adaptation, and I choose the locations. The first location for the first episode is Skopje Zoo, and the second location is Skopsko-Pole. It is outside Skopje, where a location when you put dysfunctional trains. These are the photos with Kirill Yerofeev, who was acting. And he's script writer, but he applied on our call for audition, and it becomes that he's very talented actor. I would say, I hope so. I wouldn't sound arrogant. He's 90% more talented. He's more talented than 90% officially employed actors in national theater, which is irony, cynicism, sarcasm. The methodology, because of small amount of money, we are working similar like French New Wave, and we use spontaneously, even without knowing tools of cinema verite. We use 1 camera. We cannot afford to be duo drama or quartet. We use only 1 actor or actress for monodrama, in this case male. So we ask the actor to be dressed all in black in order to create a coloristic balance. We use 1 camera. We borrow the camera from the Museum of Archaeology, Ethnology, and History, because my brother is working there, so we can receive in-kind support from there. The camera is semi-professional. We don't use objectives. We don't use light, because we use certain natural aspects, like we record from between March and early November, because we are southern country. We have many sunny, dry, light, bright months. So the nature, the sun, the day is our light design. Then particularly we shoot in the morning in order to avoid lighting discrepancies. We usually use static video camera and framing because of illusion of theatrical stage that is not allowed to us, not because of COVID, because of pretty close circles inside our official national theaters who have some of them very good conditions to work, but they're not so very open for co-productions of this kind. Then we use the atmospheric sound in combination with the actual speaking or voice-over, like in the first episode, and we clean the sound at home inside our editing program. For editing we use Premiere Adobe. So the location are very important because they supposed to, how can I say, to adjust, to communicate with the basic narration of the story. So let me show you the first episode. Everything is happening in the zoo. Zoo is state institution supported by the city of Skopje. That's why we received a very easy entrance for collaboration. We don't upset any animals. We just use this interspace as a walking zone. Of course, we choose aesthetically, symbolically certain angle for recording, who is adequate to the dialogue the character is pronouncing. We'll use minimalistic amount of tools in order to purify the dialogue, the point of the story, the point of the character inside the digital video project. This is the first location. This is the second location, one corridor that connects the area with animals and the area, something like a backstage of the zoo, where you can find a lot of dead wagons who were part of the playground for children. They have mini wagons, as many zoos have, for creating some amusement tower for children. So in this so-called zoo, backstage of the zoo, we found old red wagons when we put Kirill, and we are playing with his name. Kirill is his original name, actor's original name, and Yerofeyev is a borrowed surname of the author who inspired us. And we use maximum any narrative facts inside zoo to use to make photographic sessions for intense promotion. These are some animals who were included, not in our video, but in our promotional photo sessions, because they are, as a character, by nature, they are close to the Kirill Yerofeyev and his problems with low self-esteem, with highly intellectual but deeply disillusioned young man who is distracting himself with radical alcoholism. We are starting with the extrovert, the second episode, who is shot in Skopsko Pole. So we made several scenes at the old abandoned train station. That's here. The second episode, why extrovert? Because the text, who is constantly, like in the previous, also in the second episode, is, how can I say, with the intonation of self-pity, self-pity, self-criticizing, alcoholic dilemmas, very subtle reflection of political criticism. We decided to use the mise-en-scène and the voice, who is very agitative, like politicians are agitating, but in combination with Messiah's preaching, because it was somehow, when we analyze the text, very natural. It comes for the actor. Then we shoot several empty, abandoned railway platforms. And the location is brilliant. It's huge. It's like if I had the political power and if somebody asked me what to do with this so-called garbage for train, I would make a conservation of everything and make one open-air museum with organized transport so people could visit. Because these trains are from SHS, some of them are from SHS period, when we were a colony of Serbians, Slovenians, and Croatians. Then you have old trains from the communistic period, from each phases, from each decades. Then you have old unfunctional trains from the 19th, the first decade when we become an independent country. And now the railway station as an institution hardly works. We have only 2 active trains who are running twice per day between Skopje, Veles, Bitola, and that's all. It's very sad. But it is connected with discutable economic policy. Too much buses, as much less train as a transport. Yeah. But anyhow, aesthetically, on the level of industrial design, on the level of erosion, the aesthetics of erosion and the symbolic of erosion, it's so rich, this Ovče Pole, but very suspicious people are guiding, not are guiding, are securing, are controlling this public state area. And without being aware, we were shooting while there was one potential scandal. The government wanted to sell to somebody all these trains in order to be transformed into new, to be, how can I say, reconstruct from old to make new iron for some other purposes. But there were some petitions, some political parties crashes, and I don't know what else. So we separate the dialogue in 5 sentences, and each five sentences were shot in front of different wagon. And we were walking, so the process of walking is organized like kind of a touristic, how can I say, theater tourism. Why? Because only I know where are the location. Nobody else, neither the director, neither the actors. So we use that as an element of an additional and unpredictable element of surprise. And it has a good effect. They're surprised because some of them never won. Yes, everybody were in zoo, but few people came at Ovče Pole, for example. Ne? And here you can see several photographies with Kirill. Some old wagons are open, so we located one perforative window, and we used as an additional light effect in context of the emotional intensity in this part of his performing. And as a promotional, how can I say, ads and tools, we use a lot of photo details who are talking about the mechanism of once active trains and their purposes and their design and their value once. Last year we made 2 video theater projects. The first one, Destination Skopje-Gabrovo, and the second, Dispersive Dramatics in Skopje, Theater in Creative Industries. And this second project, Dispersive Dramatics in Skopje, was made in order to promote young authors, young playwrights. In the most thankful and ungrateful position are playwrights and dramatists in Macedonia, because hardly somebody staged them. And it's frustrating because you have existing department of playwriting and dramaturgy, but hardly, how can I say, just a few playwrights are lucky to be staged. And rarely anyone after Goran Stefanovski and Dejan Dukovski to become regionally or internationally acclaimed and famous. It's not that we don't have talented people. It is the, how can I say, it is the question of eroded system who doesn't nourish, who doesn't support, who doesn't care, who doesn't, how can I say, value new generations and the topics and narrations that are coming by default with their experiences and point of view in life. So we stage 6 episodes based on 6 plays. Demigods by Mia Volt, Mia Efremova, extremely talented young lady. She's only 26 years old. Then Inquisition by Mia Nikoloska, very, very talented young lady. She's only 18 years old. And our colleagues from International Korea Festivals for Playwright, who is partner inside ITI network, selected one of her plays for this year's festival edition. Then we stage An Apology, a story by Nadica Trajkova. She's even younger. She enrolled in University of Slovenia, Department of English, Literature and Language. The Clock by Lidija Mitoska-Gjorgjievska, who is employed dramaturg and translator in National Theatre Vojna Červinski Prilep. Between the Dragon and His Red by Sasho Dimoski. He's very acclaimed and very talented playwright who is almost 30 years old, and he's employed in National Theatre Jordan Hadži Konstantinov Džinot in Veles. Currently he's a program director, and he's really giving his best to, how can I say, to kill the stihia and to create something solid, inspiring, relevant, vital. And of course, because we are all, how can I say, each one of us has a dose of opportunism, I also use one of my short plays, Petra's Bitterness, an interview with Petra von Kant, inspired by Fassbinder's film. I wrote it back in Institutum Studiorum Humanitatis while I was studying in Slovenia, and we staged it here in this project together with Thea. These are photos from Zoom rehearsals. As I said, everything is happening on Zoom, and they just predict, based on photos, they predict their mise-en-scène, they predict the location, the feeling, the context, etc. The rehearsals are really intense because we don't have time except 1 day or 2 days per 6 or 7 hours, intense work. Repetitions, hardly 2 or 3 repetitions. This is the first location. This is one suburbia, Novo Lisice. Once was military airport, and today it's a very family area of Skopje. A lot of families are living pretty calm life, and this is a local park. They use old military plane as a monument. Because the story is connected with young love, and how can I say, the mobility opportunity is stronger than love, so they travel each on other directions. We choose this location. Here are some photos of the process of making. Then, in the same location, actually area, we have a lot of playgrounds for basketball or football. So one green one we used as allusion of one futuristic quiz connected with dramaturgy of smell, dramaturgy of disgusting smell. Mia Nikoloska is particularly writing about the phenomenon of smell. Ne? And we made one analogy, like staging these fragments of this performance on this green playground. Petra von Kant, or interview with Petra von Kant and her frivolity, we staged it in a part of Skopje called Ostrovo, Aerodrome. Here is one very aesthetical, very old-fashioned. It's made in 2011, but it looks like it is built in the 70s. It's a public fountain. And we use this, how can I say, old-fashioned, subtle extravagancy in connection with Petra's character while she's answering my fictive questions. Through the format of interview, we are making a resume of the point inside the film Petra von Kant, but using the tools of interview. Sorry, my apologies. This is another photo point of view about this open air fountain and a small open air contemporary or turbo folk open air theater for some public readings or performances, etc. The fourth play, we put it in one part of Skopje called Michurin. Michurin, they say, is one of the oldest area in Skopje where Aegeans, who were victims of exodus in the Second World War, were placed and are still living there. So today it's a very modern building, but somewhere in between you can find very old, small buildings who are built in 1989, immediately after the war. And because the story is connected with brain drain, with Gastarbeiters tradition. We have a very huge tradition of Gastarbeiting, not only in Germany, in Switzerland, but in America, in Canada, in Australia, etc. We place it here, and particularly we choose some graffiti who are very nationalistic, patriotical, as in the context of nostalgia that is ad hoc developed among these communities of Gastarbeiters who are afterwards are very nostalgic and yearning for their homeland, but they're staying in the new countries and earning a lot of money, etc., etc. The pre-last episode is taped by me, Efremova, is taped in house of the most famous impressionist painter, Lazar Lichenovsky. And it's a very beautiful house. It's a very, very, very relevant, but we are still waiting with the decades the house to become officially open museum. But they just delay. Inside, there is a very, very, very interesting, evocative Henry Moore look-like a sculpture who is made by one of the most important sculpturists in Macedonia, Petar Hadžiboškov. He's very authentic, but from his first phases, he is very similar in his work to Henry Moore. And of course, the house is built in the 60s, etc. You have a little golden fish pond, who is empty now, with lot of interesting details and mosaics. Why? Because Mia is working in museum, and she's yearning for theater, but her yearning for theater is used in this project. And the last episode is shot near the government area where the government of Republic Macedonia is, and Goce Delchev Bridge, who is built during the communistic period, a very particular brutalistic aesthetic in architecture is present here, is full of graffiti and tags. Some of those tags are very contra-political parties, like we hate, or dead for SDS, dead for VMRO, like, oh no healthy, not normal, government, not healthy, not normal opposition. So we use that because Sasho is writing about the history of jesters, because the jester in the history of Western culture was the only person who can tell the truth to the kings and queens, without self-censorship. And they would say, we are not going to kill him because he's full, court full. And that's why we connect these three paradigms. Thank you very much, and I hope so I wasn't boring.
Thank you, Ivanka. Now, if you want to stay also, perhaps Daniel and Nina, if you want to sit here for the questions. Also, Ivanka too. Ivanka. Yes. I can.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes, you can close this.
Questions?
Just starting with the activities in the Kurdish camps, I was very impressed because you just touched a moment of this need for continuity. So to just train trainers and to develop a chain of knowledge which passes the sources you need and to give to the people to be continued, so that they are able to create a bigger crowd of competence. And this was something which is a very important moment, because I see that it works similarly like we did in the Sudan, where we, without any knowledge, just planned from the beginning that it needs something like this chain, because we saw that a couple of encounters failed because the first source was not able to continue for so many years, and that needs a kind of self-empowerment which needs to run on its own. So otherwise there are starting to be like patriarchic relations that only the guys from Europe are able to give any impulses, and if they are not there, so nothing happens. So it needs something like that the impulse, the first impulse, should be strong enough that it continues even without your permanent activity. And this is something which I think is in all this activity very important, that this kind of self-empowerment somehow works, and ITI, on the other hand, we found is, as an international organization, the very good opportunity to collect as many impulses as possible, so that not only one country or one institution is the one who gives the intention, but even others as well. So at that point we just had the idea, okay, we can as German give a certain direction, let's say with some Brecht and training ideas, but there are so many more in the world, like especially working with community theater and theater with non-professionals. And for instance, the Boal training methods are used everywhere in the world, and so that's why we brought in someone from the theater of the oppressed, and to say, well, this is another source which we can use. And if you look around, so with your contacts or with the contacts in the ITI, it's really a good chance to say, let's use initiatives to give a couple of offers in the beginning, where people, because you have no idea what the really needs are, you can only have as much offers as possible, to see that the offers can be used for the special needs, which the people who are in this situation should know best. And then you can only hope that the impulses in the beginning are strong enough that the things are continuing. And then we saw in a very small span of 2 years that the choice is made, that things are used, other things are lesser used, and then you see that things are starting to develop on its own and have a second and a third generation of continuation. And this empowerment of a somehow growing professional group of people who are themselves working in these community theaters is a really good impulse. I mean, the good thing is that you have been working in a more or less homogeneous community. In many refugee camps you have very different tribes, ethnics, religions, who somehow are put together and have enormous tensions among each other, so that sometimes theater is only just a way to keep them away from the daily terror, and or to try to learn to understand each other beyond the walls of the ethnics and the religions, and because they are all separated very much. So this is something where we have learned a lot from the Sudanese colleagues, how to overcome this in a way. And but as soon as there is a kind of impulse which becomes somehow self-efficient, then it starts to work and to pick and to develop. And then, because you should go just in the second row to listen, to learn, and then to say, we have this and these offers. If you need, we can try to provide you with this. And but the most decisions are up to you. And I think this is a very important point, and I'm very happy that you could discover how the things have developed and how it worked in this way of thinking in longer terms and time spans, to just not have a single impulse of 2 or 3 projects and then let's look how much can be done, but just to see that things are developing and taking the impulses and trying to go on.
Yes, and I think also in both sides, that's totally, it's very important, really on both sides. Not we are bringing, we are taking, they bringing, and it's really an exchange. And for example, this group now, they are going on, huh? Now they travel to around, and so that's, but also the group have to, and they want to have impacts, they want to have ideas from outside. The exchange is so important, and you know it also in Iraq. You have to go to the academy, and when you go to the theater academy, you want to be a film star in these very boring television programs. Sorry, but it's really boring. It's totally copy of American television. So, and they don't look around where are people who are doing also the same, and that's also a name, huh? To go to the next theater festival in Erbil with this group. So, and they can go only when they have the support from Europe. It's crazy, but so then they are somebody, huh? So that's a bit a tactic and a strategy, but I think, yeah, and yeah, it's very important. And that was also a critic, you know. 2012 we were in a camp in Domis camp, where a lot of different refugees were, and we went there, we made a play, a workshop, and we left, and it was horrible, huh? Really horrible, and I said, never again I want to do work like this, because you let them, yeah, hello, showing time, make a lot of pictures, and we are so nice, and oh, it's awful.
I will not add much to that because I completely agree with this, but just want to say thank you for this way of thinking. And even if this pilot program that you use really a kind of listening of those people and a kind of democracy in choosing what you are doing. And this sensitivity, I feel it's very important, especially when we work, that we have tools, we have resources, we have ability to travel much more than the people in the zones have. So this is a privilege, but I think that it's very important because they need exchange and we need exchange. We need to learn from them, yeah. Because that's, I mean, working in such a place, it's also learning you a lot about the place where you are here in Europe.
Exactly.
It's completely changing your mind and way of thinking. So this is very, very important. I really also respect for the idea to send people, I mean students from Europe there, just to come back to Europe and have a little more understanding, because I feel this is a big lack in Europe, even in artists, which they think, okay, we have an art, we are fantastic artists, we can go somewhere for 2 weeks, do something in the place and go back and say, yes, we did it for, yeah. So this is like this perspective. It's so important, and to give tools and to give it into hands of people. Thank you. Just say respect.
Yeah, but yes, exactly. But it needs support because it's not common, huh? And to find support, for example, in Switzerland, for work like this, no, huh? Because the level of what is art, let's say, huh? It's still so imperial. It's so European way of thinking of. The European way of of seeing, and to bring this down, huh, to say these exchanges are totally important. In Switzerland, 20% of the population are, or more than 20%, are not from Switzerland. So in Basel, it's 75%. So come on and go a bit closer from where are the people coming and so on, and but
I mean, people maybe in a country like Switzerland, they not always want to be somehow closer to the roots. I don't know. Maybe they want to
have
cut.
to. I think so, because the population changed so much, the communities changed so much.
But I think for Europeans, it's needed not to be in a kind of bubble created by media and I mean the local things. That's it, I think. Directions I even exchange, and this that the people from Europe can work and really see and feel how the things are going, and they can come back and later, I mean, grow with this feeling, this knowledge. It's also something like for future, because in 10-15 years they will do something and they will know this experience also.
Yeah, only one thing I want to add. 3 of the actors, we were on 2 festivals in Jordan and in Dohuk years ago with 3 actors which joined this work now, and the experience was totally different. But it's important really to stay in the camp. It's important to live there, because when you are coming and going, it's totally another idea. And that we have the possibility to stay there in a family, it was also huge and very important. Yeah, for the whole work. So
yes, absolutely agree.
I want just to adjust also that what I really felt when there came the students back from Mahmur, that they had changed really. I mean, they were really like different people, and that is what they received from the life in the camp. I just want to say thank you to you, thank you, because I really lived this. And what they learned was I mean, you cannot learn here. I mean, you have to live there, and then I think in this experience you can bring into your work, and that's what I was also saying 2 days ago, that because I'm a lot in contact with young students and young people who want to do theater, there is not so often anymore this wish to do a character, to come in contact with classical literature. There's a lot more personal research. Who am I as a performer in this world today? And very often they come to this question: what is the sense of my work? And that's why I think they get so touched when they go in these circumstances, because they find some moment of answers to who I am as a performer. What is the need for my work, really?
Who I am as a human as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. In this world, in this bubble world, we live in the middle of Europe.
At this moment, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, we took too much place. Maybe there's some.
You know, I like this, what you say, that today young people are more affected to deal with self-investigation,
yes,
and to develop various methods inside collaborative projects. And I think that's good, because that's how you will detect all the copy-pastes in yourself, and to, you know, to start to find a way how to overcome. It's not easy, it's not a lucky way for everybody, not very successful, but it is a good material for collaborative theatrical performative projects. I say nothing new, but I see the meaning, why they need more to deal with themselves, as a contrast of hyper-explosion, not only people in camp, but talking about young people on a global level, bombarded with a lot of information, bombarded with a lot of influence, with already with ready-made, how can I say, matrix for everything, for how to look, how to eat, how to seduce, how to die, how to have fun, etc., etc., etc. In that manner, of course, being in camp is something more radical because of extreme consequences of isolation and of how can I say, disillusioned perspectives and I don't know, existential futurism. But that's something that I have never experienced. Yes, we had camps, but me personally, in 90s, at the end of 90s, when the conflict between America and Serbia and Kosovo happened, we have in near Skopje area camps with refugees from Kosovo. But I was much younger then. I wasn't lucky to enroll in certain projects in order to collaborate with people and to see realistically what is going on there. And thank you. That's the reflection.
You think it's could be also interesting tool to go into any camp, Mahmo, or wherever, and to propose your video making projects?
The desert can offer a lot, you know, but everything depends what you see in the desert. And if you see the invisible aspects of desert, and if you have some artistic, how can I say, impulses, then you can make a surprisingly good minimalistic, but using minimalistic tool, good transformations. The mentality of desert, the mentality of camps, the phenomenon of isolation, né? And with low tech, by using low tech, I think there are a lot of possibilities, you know. And but without fear to use some basic film grammar tools like Groplan, okay, because of religion, certain communities maybe are frightened to be close, to be shot too close, or camera to analyze their bodies. I think it will be successful if they receive a basic film grammar who can be used for performative and theatrical tools. Because otherwise, through internet, it is any digital format is easily, how can I say, it's easily distributed.
Thank you.
If then I go to Thomas, I think that in our experience, generally, we have tried to also to give the instrumental support. For example, when we have worked in Palestine, we have left there a video camera, a projector. Also, is a very important dimension to create an autonomous processors. It's very important to be in a relationship of the opportunity to create something and also to be independent. This is the basic elements that we have to create when we create an intervention. It's a very important this. Also, I would like to know something more about the idea of the hub. I think that it's a very easy to try to have an international project on this, yes, because it's a very important tool. Also, the other aspect, the last one, is for me, it's very clear that we are living in a global conflict. Yes. There is not only conflict only in the area in which the war is bombing and other things. We lived in a global conflict, and also the dimension of the metropolitan area is one of the most important places of the global conflict. And also, yes, for this we have to consider, but we are not able to consider this like an element of the global conflict, the metropolitan area. Also in Europe, we have a lot of global conflict examples in all the dimension of the marginalization process that there are a lot. For example, in Italy, we have the presences of the camp for migrants, for refugees, and so on. For me, there is no differences between the migrants for economical reason and the people that escape from the war. Is another aspect of the global conflict, is the economical reason, or the problem very, very actual and urgent of the climate disaster and so on, that create a migration very, very strong. And also I think that there is another problem, historical problem with the intervention of yesterday of Yaroslav. I have thought a lot last night about the problem of the millions of people that was dislocated after the Second World War, and this is a continuous process of the people that was dislocated from there is a deportation, is a word that we are not using more, but is a very precise techniques. And also this is a dimension, also the mobility of society. This one is not only a negative aspect, it's a terrible aspect, but it's not only negative aspect, because create a mobility of the social dimension, this one. Otherwise we have to maintain a fixity that is not real, doesn't exist this. But also, okay, then I don't know if you want to answer first. Then. Oh,
There are so many aspects right now. One thing I found interesting in Ivanka's presentation, which I would ask, is this kind of self-empowerment for an independent theater community beside the rather closed shop of the established theater with this video project? Would it be something like a future column of your work to maintain, or is it just a bridge to the reopening of the live performance situation?
Thank you, Thomas, for your question. I think we will continue with producing digital theater projects because they give us a lot of opportunity. Sometimes I'm not even nostalgic for Black Cube, for the classical theatrical stage. So I don't know if somebody invites us in the near future to make something on stage, then we will accept, of course. But if they invite us also to make, together with their ensemble, digital theater projects, I would be very, very, very happy together with my team to collaborate with certain ensemble and to use their building inside, outside, how do you say, all the levels of each theatrical building, who are, I don't know, who are narrative, who are expressive by itself. Ne? Everything can be alternative stage, for example, ne? But if you have a firm, well-elaborated concept ne? And context. I hope so I answer.
And yeah, I guess the other aspect would be interesting as well to look how these kind of experiences, which are of course could extend it to other countries with other experiences and
yes.
already knowledges, could be used for the ITI, because I guess this is one of the structures which are open in many directions.
Exactly.
And can be used. I mean, if we have a situation, because just a term where Fabio just mentioned mobility, which of course is a counter direction to the idea of having resident structures for a longer time with people who are in more or less the same places, but for their own decision. And we have on the other hand this kind of so-called forced mobility, where people have to travel or have to be at different places because of their security status, and they can't go back home because for political reasons, and that's why they have to hop to different places outside their places of normal residency, and are starting to start a kind of hybrid existence, not being just home and traveling from home to this and this place, but on the other hand being not a citizen of another country, so a citizen without home. And this is a hybrid existence which is growing, especially among many artists. And I don't know if our experiences with this very clear localization, so the conflict is in this area, and we are traveling from that area with people which are very clearly in this and this circumstances to this very clear defined other circumstances, is mixing up more and more. And the first step is, I guess, very important, that people who are already in education, students, have to have this experience to go outside this bubble. But on the other hand, and this is another important development, we have to consider how many hybrid existences people, artists are around us already, who do not really belong to this or that sphere. And the mixture of these experiences and beings, I guess, is very important to even bring it to this other experience. So what I mean is, this kind of bipolarity will disappear more and more.
Thank you. You want to say something to Thomas?
No, later.
No, what I found very interesting in your work was this very strong restrictions or rules or like manifesto you gave to your work. You know, that you say you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do that, but you could do that. And I think I mean, I believe that in art it is very important to give very strong rules, and this creates space for we all know for creativity. And when I was listening to you, I was also thinking how to link it to ITI and to our discussion from yesterday about the new form of festival. And I suddenly thought, maybe that is a very interesting form of ITI festival could be like this also. Maybe, you know, we have all these rules. We keep very strict to these rules. We create some kind of hybrid work. And we show it to us here now. Like we had our last congress where we were just watching our videos, and sure, it's not the same as being together all in Segovia, but it is still, we had a feeling of being together, being a community. And thanks for this, because I thought, maybe that is good with very strict rules to create something.
Daniel, I'd just like to say, you know, in my country, young people, older people, they need a creative discipline, you know. They need, how can I say, economy of time and economy of space inside limited resources, you know. At the very end, we can have at least honoraries, you know. Because we don't earn the money for renting place, making costumes, making, I don't know, investing too much in props, or using too much additional, how can I say, tools for sound and light design. Yes, in the future we will need them. This is a steps that leads to more ambitious project of this kind, when we can use more sophisticated tools who will just improve what we like to say. Because I'm sorry for this mingling between independent festival film scenes and creating digital theater projects with the language and experience of theater and performing arts. Why I mix them? Because there are some rules in these indie film festivals. They say the cheapest independent short film costs 10,000 euros, but we make that with 1,000 euros or 900 euros. You know, it's cynicism, but we decided together with the team, don't waste time on being unjusted, being discriminated and everything. Just use the opportunity and take maximum from minimum. For now, it works, and maybe it will open something more constructive, more for us as a team.
Yes. Now I want to say just a little thing. It's connected with the Thomas intervention. In the last meeting in April, ITI meets the world, and also about theatre in conflict zones that we have organized. We have spoken with the Spanish Center about the problem of the archive, audiovisual archive of the performing arts. This is a very important topic. Yesterday I said something connected with the heritage. For example, I think this is very powerful opportunity to have an interview with the man of the theater that you have shown yesterday, to have a very good interview of the experience on the border, in the place, could be a very important dimension. One of the other aspects essential in the conflict zones is the idea, the self-representation of isolation. Generally, is very strong, this dimension, to consider themselves, everyone, isolated. We can use this aspect, also the hub, like an element of overcome the idea of self-isolation. That is a very, very important tool. And also we can use, for example, the exam now, Emma is not here. For example, what happened in the theater, National Theatre in Tirana, that was destroyed. To have a video in the community of ITI is another aspect, very, very important to use this one. To collect the experiences and also to share the experiences. And also we can work a lot on this. I'm sure. Sorry for, but I think that it's very important. Roberta and then Jaros.
I think there are some very important lessons from your experiences. One is to get out of the black box and to go to the places that changes your life, your experience as an artist, as theater maker, and the experience possibly also of the people whom you meet if you are able to activate a mutual exchange on equal basis. That's the way to create some sustainable processes, generative processes for the people involved that can allow you to have the vision of new paths, of new possibilities, of new opportunities for your art. And that's also the way how with low budget we can create and find solutions through the creative power. And I think that in difficulties beautiful things, maybe more beautiful things can come out. Listening to the places, I was also impressed by the fact that the videos that you made are related to places of abandonment. What do you see? What are we able to see when we go to a place? That's very important. How can we open our eyes? It's something very important to be able to listen to the voices of the places that are the voices of the people that have lived and are living these places. So it's where there is something apparently dead, there is a lot of life, like the railway stations. There is a huge stories behind it, and so to open the eyes to the surprise and to the attention to the marginal things, to the marginal places, to the marginal people can enable us to discover new ways of practicing. I mean, I'm telling it from our long experience also, that when you think that the official way is cut, is over, you find more sense in other opportunities that are also more useful for you and for the other people and for the other artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
I would like to thank you also for showing this idea, and this is also an example of a different type, because it's a different situation, but also a resilience of artists, how they could do things in a bad situation, which happens with I mean this social and economical circumstances. But I just in my head now comes out like different ideas, and some of them like opposing themselves, but this also, which is generally of course obvious, because everybody had to start to use the tools like internet, like movies in a COVID time. We learned that, and this is a big opportunity, and it's giving a chance to do something. But on the other side, I understand that this is a bit a trap also for us, for artists, for theater, because what was important in theater and was I don't know, I will recall Grotowski's idea, who told like the theater is a meeting, a person with person, I mean actor and an audience, and a person in audience. I don't know the singular word for audience, spectator, yes, spectator or witness. So this is the meeting, and we have those two, the new opportunity, which we quickly learned, many people in theater, and this meeting, which we still think we should preserve, this important thing. And then we have to maybe to think about how to use the new tools, and not losing the real value, because there is a danger, and there's also, I think, I don't know, political, economical danger that we will be pushed towards multimedia. And I don't want to quit it. It's a great idea, but it's danger. That's one thing. And the other thing, it comes in my head. This is a great. It's also somehow consonance with the idea I had how to overcome the borders, which we cannot overgo. I mean, the real political borders, and using the new tools we have. Yes. And this is maybe the idea that we could make something which is still remembering that the real theater is a meeting, a person with person, but what we could do in that situation, even with the regions which are politically absolutely isolated, like the camp in Syria, which you really cannot travel. Even all these international organizations, they cannot get in. I talked with those people, and they said there is no help from world, no help from Europe, and even like UNICEF's withdraw from the area. So this is a really abandoned place at the moment. But they have a theater. They have also a lot of film. They work a lot with film because it's another tool which they are very good in. Maybe we could propose them an exchange, but on the same level, that they can propose something, and the people and students here, they can propose something on the level of theater using the media, but still remembering that we hope for the day we could really work. But this is an idea to do something in many areas, and to create a hub which will collect things, which will collect information about the other people. They can know about each other. They can inspire themselves, but we can also create a platform which maybe will be able to create also the real help. I mean, not only exchange, but the real help for those people, because sometimes we're lacking the tools to transfer equipment, to transfer money, to transfer something which will help them to do the mission. So this is just many ideas, but this, it's joining these two things together. But sorry for talking too much.
After Thomas, I would like to say something.
Just one following aspect for that. I think media competence is, of course, very important, and a part of the reality we are experiencing, especially with refugees who are living since years in relations to their relatives somewhere else in the world, is digital. So the only thing they have is their mobile phones, and the only relation they could maintain over many years is really digital. And this is a reality which is somehow not a part of our daily reality, but we experienced a little glimpse of this during the last lockdowns. So this is reality for many peoples in the world, and it should be much more a part of the experience in our theater concepts, because of course, life-to-life experience and contact is very important as well. But the reality is already switching now to other forms of relations, because the reality is like this, and this limitation creates a lot of new forms of existence, because this kind of enforced mobility really cuts a lot of things. And of course, theater can maintain the need for meeting people, but if you look to people who really have not seen their relatives since many years because they are not allowed to see them, you see this kind of digital relationship is now a part of the reality as well, and needs to be reflected in our work as well.
Can I say something for this only one point? Yes. I agree, but I think it's more the way of conversation, huh? Because only for me theater has a very big aim also for a transfer. Huh? So it was even before the digital time with the VHC cassetten, and sometimes I think it needs a mix, really a mix, because there are rules, there are borders, and so, but the Aufgabe,
Task.
the task of theater is a transfer for these problems, and sometimes there is the danger of video to be too documentary or too oberflächlich, too superficial. So, and I think we have to really, we have to look. The artists have to look for this point, the transfer.
Yes, I feel that we have to be aware about the danger, the opportunities and the danger, and maybe there's a hybrid. There exists hybrid solution, like I think Mr. Levan told, that it can be also that we use those tools, but maybe spectators can be together, like a community also. This is another like version which is in between, and somehow we are a real community as we can. So this is also like something like hybrid form possible.
Yeah, and with strict forms.
What I wanted to say that obviously digitalization improves the internationalization today. And what I meant about Theater Digital Hub, it is my idea to create a micro platform where I can put all our video theater production who are made now and who will be made in the near future together with a mini e-shop when we can sell our electronic publishings like e-books, e-plays, theater comics, theater poetry, etc., etc., etc. And it's not easy because the Ministry of Culture doesn't recognize this kind of projects, so they transfer me to apply to the Institute for Technological Development and Inventions. And I applied on one program for accelerator development, and I was in front of potential investors who were part of IPA supported project. And I was the only one who presented this kind of idea, who is coming from the theater and performing arts by using digital tools and the grammar of film. And they didn't understand because the ideas presented who are connected with sailing 3D houses, selling craft beer, selling homemade grappa, made in combination with local but very healthy mushrooms. No, I don't underestimate. It is a crash of completely different worlds, you know? But since in the name of innovation and the potential of technical development and this digitalization that is coming slowly, soon faster in the domain of theater and performing arts, I decided to apply, and I presented that, and I didn't become finalist, I just remained as a semi-finalist. Of course, I learned a lot of things, how those investors are thinking about, what they're expecting about, what kind of earning you will bring to us. And I said, yes, the earning will be via direct digital fair trade of our video theater projects to the bigger platforms like Netflix or TV streaming platforms, and you will receive your author's rights. You will sell your author's rights for 2 years, and you will ask for percentages of any downloading or counted views by users on those platforms. Then you will use these methods of annual subscription, annual fee with giving discounts for your electronic publishing products, and selling digital tickets for your premieres, and selling digital tickets for your reprises as on-demand projections. But still, the issue of theater and performing arts is far away for this kind of people coming from this profession, because talking about startups and accelerators is an idea that comes up from the world of IT. So the IT sector still sees something totally uncommercial in everything what we are doing in our professions, our lovely professions. That's my experience. Very fresh.
Yeah. Just a reflection. I think that you touch very important point and a quite good possibility to develop new relation with cultural managers and cultural marketologists, because we know that performing arts managers, they already working a lot, but let's say the new ideas which need to reach the market, it will be very logically to involve managers from our field, not to talk with business managers, but to talk with arts and cultural managers who are really oriented on non-profit management. And this is quite big difference, because if you go to business administrators, we have absolutely different backgrounds. For them, it's important to have profit, but for cultural managers, the profit somewhere else. It's not only in money, but it's in absolutely different actions and the results. It's why maybe this is already good possibility to create kind of maybe forced dialogue between professionals from performing arts who need some kind of practical advice how to develop their own projects, and already from the experienced managers and marketologists who can help to find the shortest ways.
I would just like to say something. I was, while I was preparing myself for this accelerator semi-finalist presentation, I located very good platform made in United States of America, who have enlisted all the grants for who are giving support for making documentaries, short or long term, making short features, etc. And at the very end, they offer several metrics how to make. How to present your project as a potential in front of potential investors as a business plan, né? Using all your creativity from your practical experience in theater and in theater, for example, or in film, but in combination, very elegant, very creative combination with the terminology and the structure of those hardcore businessmen who see profit only in if you create and sell food, house, and clothes, and that's it. Or if you bury. Nelly? Graveyards, if you bury them in. 4 crucial sources for earning money. Ne? And somewhere in between, something that comes from the spirituality, from the emotion, from this kind of delicate, sensitive experience, is not for profit for them. Ne? And I'm going to share with you. I'm not going to forget that. The link, and you can investigate by yourself, does has a purpose. Can we borrow something from their experience to try to test it in the domain of our professions, without frustration, without this prejudice, oh, this IT world, these highlights of these programmers who are thinking that they're the most clever people, they will solve all our problems via apps and websites. It's not like that, but maybe somewhere in between they have good points that maybe can be tested for the benefit of our professions. I don't favorize, I just suggest, I share, I reflect.
Okay.
Why Americans? Americans are only money, predominantly money oriented. And that's why they are one of the best in giving and creating constructions for earning, for fundraisings, right?
Okay. Thank you very much, Nina, Daniel, and Ivanka. We finished the session of this morning. See you at 4 o'clock, and thank you very much.
Thank you.